Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. It is, I don't even, oh, of course I know what the date is today. Of course I do. This morning is Thursday, the 1st of December. How on earth we got to the 1st of December, I've no idea. Before we continue, I'd like first of all to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who, as always, is standing to my right side, and also to our lovely facilitator, Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Rosemary. Happy
And
December.
I think there's a little bit of a delay. So as we're going along the show this morning, we have to pay attention to the fact that there's a little bit of a delay. So we're not as quick and quick-witted as we might ordinarily seem to be. So before we get started and giving everybody time to log on, because I know some of you like to, you're perhaps a little bit delayed yourselves in logging on. Let me talk about my week and let me talk about November, because we're now into December. How, first of all, did it get to be December? I said to my daughter this morning, do you realize that there are only 3 weeks till Christmas? I mean, isn't that a scary thought? That is such a scary thought. And I don't know how it crept up on me, because usually I'm much more aware that Christmas is coming than I have seemed to be this year. When I wrote my newsletter, though, and for those of you who get the newsletter every month, when I wrote my newsletter, and I look back on November, of course, I can look back on all of the disasters, look at, if we sort of edge into September, Hurricane Ian, and then, of course, November dealing with all of the aftermath, seeing so many people who have lost their homes, so many people who have, such awful, dreadful times trying to fight with insurance companies, trying to get repairs done, and on and on and on. It goes here in Florida. I think that, that when the whole country, and in fact the whole world, is aware that hurricanes are happening, and especially the big ones like we just suffered, I think, we're aghast at what's happening. We're fascinated by the way the hurricane chooses its path, the hurricane or the tornado, whatever it is, whatever nature is throwing at us at any particular moment. But I think that then, that a week or two goes by and people, we're dealing with other things and we have other issues going on. And I have no idea. And I say this not having any idea myself. I have that, people have no idea of the aftermath and the weeks and weeks. And they're still collecting all of the trees that fell down, and all of the devastation. And they're still, we're still having big trucks around after all of these weeks, still collecting up all of the felled trees, all of the brush that was down. People are still having, so many people in so many areas have blue tarps, because they either are having to wait because of the amount of people having to get new roofs, so they're having to wait in line, or they're fighting with their insurance companies, or something's going on. And you can see this as we're driving around. We can see all the devastation that's going on, and the people who are still, after all this time, having to deal with stuff. My lovely guy who mows my lawns for me was talking to me a couple of days ago, and sure enough, his bedroom was flooded, part of his house was flooded, his lawns were wrecked, the outside was wrecked. He had some other damage to his house. And that was weeks and weeks ago. And can you imagine, still weeks later, you cannot get it fixed because the insurance company is arguing with you or fighting with you or whatever it is that's going on there. And sometimes the insurance companies are quite right to argue, because if you don't have your policy in order, if you haven't paid for your insurance, I guess, you're one of the unlucky ones. But at the same time, I know they're fighting also with people who really, really have genuine claims, and the insurance companies don't want to give them all the millions of dollars that they've made out of all of those of us. We all have to pay insurance, don't we? So we can imagine the millions and trillions of dollars that the insurance companies make, and they just don't want to let go of it. So this is going on in Florida. So we can focus on all of the trials and all of the tribulations. But I decided uh, that and especially when I was writing the newsletter, I have to tell you that November for me personally has been an extraordinary month. An extraordinary month. Not for me. When I say me personally, I don't mean on a personal basis. I don't mean that I have no worries and problems and woes. I'm talking about my work, the work that I do. I'm talking about the existence of proof. I'm talking about the joy of being able to just the other day talking to a lovely lady who he she and her father would maybe once or twice a year have a consultation with me, and so I got to know Tony so well. Lovely guy, and they called me because they wanted to connect with his wife and his obviously his daughter's mother, and now, all of a sudden, we're laughing because here is Tony talking to me from the other side. Unusual because, for the last 2 or 3 years, he's been talking to me from this side. Now he's talking to me from the other side. And so we were able to say to him, okay, then what's the difference and what's it like? And did he have some stories to tell and some amazing stories about how his transition went and so on. And so, you get people like that. I've been uh, talking with a family. First of all, the wife of a young man who she's also young, barely 40, the two of them, uh, who he died in extremely tragic circumstances. And so I was able to talk to her. And then I was able to talk to two of her kids who had when she came to see me, she'd recorded her session with me, and so she was able to play it back to her kids and let them see, what had been said, what was up to, and they sort of when they met me, they came to see me. They met me. They're looking at me. It's sort of is it being very circumspect as we all should be. Who is this weird woman? You know, what's going on, and how come we never heard of her before? And really, and I don't believe that you can do these things, but yet I've got the evidence. I've got my own ears to hear what she said, and there's no way she could know about so many things. And that's exciting for me because again and again and again, and it happens all the time for me. I don't want you to think that it only happened in November, which makes November special, but November was a particularly special time, I think, because there was so much devastation around. There are so many people hurting, there are so many people in pain, there are so many people struggling, that when you come up against these fabulous, wonderful, amazing experiences through the spirit world, through life after death, through it's my favorite subject. I think it might be yours as well. When you sort of are experiencing all of that, it's sort of puts things into perspective a little bit, and it makes all the horrible stuff that we're dealing with. It makes us it gives us a break from that, and it makes us realize that we'll get through it, no matter how strenuous and stressful it is, and no matter how many. And I speak now from personal experience. No matter how many people you have giving you estimates for this and quotes for that, and no matter how many times you're going around and around and people make appointments and then they don't turn up and then they call you and say, oops, well, I'm sorry I'm an hour late, but I got delayed. In other words, my time's more important than yours, so can I come now then? All of that irritating stuff, it fades into the background, because when we think about the joy and the happiness and the peace and the hope that when we talk to the spirit world, when we think about all of those things that gives to us, the joy and exaltation. I'm telling you, I've been sort of from some days I've been walking on a cloud. Yes, I say to myself when I hear that perfect piece of evidence, that how would I know if you're thinking of having a nose ring put in? How would I know if you've got a tattoo under your sleeve that I can't see? How do I know? These things, and so of course, when those fabulous pieces of evidence come through, and it's so clear and it's so precise, and you get so excited. I get so excited. I shouldn't say we get so excited. I get so excited. I get so excited for other people. But I think that one of the reasons that I am as good as I am at what I do, and trust me, I'm not boasting when I say that. I just simply would not. If I weren't that good, I wouldn't be doing it. But I think one of the reasons, and probably one of the most important reasons, is I'm such a nosy person and I want to know and I'm interested in people. I'm curious about things. And when I find out new bits of information, or when I sometimes someone in the spirit world will tell me something I didn't know. I mean, not I don't mean evidence, but I mean something about the spirit world itself, something about that maybe the way they perceive it, and I'm sort of always delighted and excited and pleased to be learning more and more and more. So I've been walking around, even though my back has been out for the last 2 weeks. I'm telling you, the pain is excruciating. But who cares when I'm sitting there with two young teenagers who are talking to the father who they never ever believed they would ever be able to talk to. And he's telling them, I saw you in your bedroom with this and that yesterday. And no, I heard you say so and so and such and such. And they're looking at me and they're looking at their mother and then looking at me again. And then they're looking at each other and they're trying to figure out, how am I doing this magic trick? But there is only one way. And they finally get the point that the only way that I could possibly know is because their father told me so. And it's exciting and it's jubilant and it's joyful. And so I'd like us all to think, here we are, 1st of December. I know Christmas is coming and I know some of you are really looking forward to it, me included, because I have my 9-year-old grandson, soon to be 10 years old. Oh, how did that happen? But 9 years old, and the elf visited this morning for the first time. What can I tell you? I'm so excited that the elf visited. And the most exciting thing is the elf visited for the puppy as well, for Apache. This is Apache's first Christmas. Wow, how can you not be excited, right? And how can you not be grateful for all these wonderful things that go on, because they do help us to deal with those things that are often weighing us down. And I know that many of you are on your own this Christmas, but one of the reasons I'm talking about this is you've got to know, you have to know. I want you to know. I really desperately want you to know. Those of you who are dreading Christmas, you're going to be on your own. I promise, promise, promise you, you'll not be on your own, because your loved ones in the spirit world will be hanging around. They'll be with you. They'll be hoping that you hear them, or perhaps maybe you catch a glimpse of them. They'll be hoping that somehow or another that there will be this connection between you, and that's what I'm hoping for you all as well. All right, I am done talking, at least for 5 minutes. Chris, is there anybody there, or have I just been chatting away to myself all this time?
We do have a bunch of people in the chat room today, so they're all saying December and good morning, and it's cold and sunny in Illinois. I love the wonderful news. And then we have Stacy who says, "This
I'm
is
sorry, I don't know if anybody else. Can I
and
just stop you
this
for a
started
second?
playing."
Can I stop you for a second? Okay. Chris is in another room, but I can hear you, Chris. So it's like I hear you, and then a bit later on, I hear your voice on here. I don't know if anybody else is bothered by this, but let us know if you are. There's not a lot we can do about it because we've got a delay going on here. But anyway, we'll put up with it for a while and see how it goes. I'm sorry, Chris. What were you saying?
So Stacy is saying, opened up her iPad and your show started. So she guessed she's meant to see it.
Oh, well, good. Hi, Stacy. Well, stay around for a little while. Did I lose Chris? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's happening. Oh, here we are.
All right. And then we have good morning.
Good morning,
And
Alika.
then we have Barb, who says she got a newsletter but hasn't had a chance to read it.
What? I would have thought you would have raced to read that. I'm just kidding. You read it in your own time, Bob.
Mark is on. He's been quite ill lately. He's working from home and is slowly on the mend, and he says he's missed seeing you.
Well, we're sending you healing, just so you know that we're sending you healing.
Andrew's here. Festive greetings from the UK. And then Barbara says, my mom, Gladys, died last November. Is she happy and okay? Why
So it's
doesn't she send me signs? Do you have a
why don't
message from
you?
her today? And I miss her so much.
Right, Barbara, I'm going to tell you. Why don't you listen to your mum? Is what I'm being told to tell you. I'm sure she's sending you signs over and over and over, but we have to do our part. We have to pay attention. We have to listen closely. We have to look around us. We have to be aware. We have to be sensitive. And, we have to sometimes learn to raise our level of consciousness so that we can be aware of them. Our loved ones in the spirit world, they're standing right in front of us very often. I'm here. Look, I'm here. Can't you see me? I'm here. And we're on the other end saying, why didn't she ever visit? Why don't I ever see her? And it's because you haven't learned yet the art of listening, the art of being able to see and to sense and so on. But that is easily remedied. Go to our YouTube and see all of our healing videos, and see some of the videos where I talk about the things that you need to do to become more sensitive and to become more aware, and the things that you can do to help you to raise your level of consciousness. And I am told, Barb, while we're on the subject, I've got Grey Eagle in my ear here telling me she's safe, your mum is safe, she's well, and frustrated, I think, because she's with you, but she's okay because she knows it'll take you some time. And I'm hearing a lovely voice here, and I think it might be your mummy, uh, and she's calling out to you. I see you in your dreams, so maybe that's how she will come to you. Keep going, Chris.
Mark's asking if Grey Eagle could share any words of wisdom. Holidays approach, and from being sick with the flu and COVID, I'm not in the mood to decorate for Christmas. Can he give me some words?
Yes, I'm going to give you a little pep talk here. Forget that you're not in the mood. Get on with it anyway, because sometimes, and I get it, you're sick, you don't want to move, you don't want to do anything. I get that totally, perfectly. You should have seen me yesterday. I kept having to get up to answer the door because we kept getting visitors, and I really, really was struggling with my back yesterday. In fact, I've been struggling with my back for a couple of weeks now, so I'm nursing it gently. I'm sort of leaning back on a cushion as I'm talking to you. There are times we don't feel like it, but we have to do it because it's for our own preservation and it's for our own salvation. If we continue to look down and if we continue to see the negative, and I know, Mark, don't think I'm not sympathetic to you, because I am. I know how easy it is to get down in the doldrums, but if we don't look and if we don't seek out the light and if we don't find the joy, we're going to, we're just going to be even more and more miserable. So this is what I want you to do. If you can't do it for you, please can you do it for me? Because I need you to smile. I need to see a smile on that face of yours. And so get out, even if it's only a teeny, teeny, tiny, teeny little Christmas tree. Get something out and decorate and make yourself feel better, because when you're decorating, your angels will be helping you to decorate. So come on, it's Christmas. So you're not allowed to steep into the doldrums. You're not allowed to. I won't let you. And I want to hear back from you to tell me what it was that you did to make yourself feel better. Okay, all right. Keep going, Chris.
All right, from Heather. Heather's joining us from Dubai,
Hi.
remembering 30 years ago You also gave her and her very young children messages from their dad. And yes, it was a great comfort. Thank you. I love that you are focusing on the positive.
Now, Heather, I want to know what it is that you're doing in Dubai. I met, for those of you who don't know, I met Heather in Hong Kong, and now here you are, all these years later, and you're in Dubai. I don't know if you're on a holiday vacation, because I know at some point you came back to England. And what are you doing in Dubai? If you're living there and waiting for an invitation, you know that, right? I don't think I've ever been to Dubai, so it would be a first for me. But if you're planning on, just a vacation, you're coming back to England, hopefully, next year, which is only a month away, I will be planning a trip to England also. So maybe, Heather, we can get together. But yes, I remember your darling husband, David. I remember your children were very small, and what a fabulous and a precious gift we can give them. Especially, they need to hear from, your kids needed to hear from their dad. This family I'm talking about, they need to hear from their dad, husband, stroke dad. It's such a joyful time, and thank you, Heather, for writing in with that, because it's certainly, we tell stories, we talk about stories, and we talk about people have had this message and somebody else has had that message, but it really does help when somebody like yourself says, "Yes, I remember when you talked to my kids when they were young." It really, really does help for everyone listening, because they say, "Oh well, maybe then." Is it possible? Could it really be? Is it true? And of course, we know the answer to that is yes. Chris.
Maggie's listening to you from the airport. She has a last minute work trip that she initially wasn't supposed to go on.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm glad. I hope it's not too busy. Why don't you share with everybody else in the airport? Come and watch this show with me. Would that be fun? That would be fun. We're going to get a lot of clanking in a minute, because Chris opened the windows and the garbage truck is coming around. I'm looking at it. So if you hear the banging and the clanging, I am not getting up to close those windows, because I'm just staying exactly where I am on my cushion. Okay, keep going.
Rhonda says, I love Christmas. My house is
Me too.
decorated in a snowman theme this year.
Oh, nice. Nice. Now, are you doing any cooking? Is what I want to know. You know me. Here I go again. This morning it occurred to me it is the 1st of December and I haven't yet made my marzipan. And I make marzipan. Oh, if you want the recipe, write to me, Chris at rosemaryaltea.com. I'll send you the recipe. It's, if you love marzipan, and I do, you'll need almonds. Just get, you make sure that they're not that they're peeled, that they're blanched, should I say? So you want the white almonds, and just get the almond slivers, because let me tell you, you're just going to crush them up into very, very fine ground powder. So you don't have to get whole almonds, and slivered almonds are so much cheaper. And so you just get them, and you get some. I was in the supermarket the other day. I was listening to a conversation at the desk where somebody said something about powdered sugar, and somebody else said, well, it's not powdered sugar, it's confectioner's sugar. And then I chimed in and said, well, in England we call it icing sugar. But confectioner's sugar, icing sugar, powdered sugar is all the same. It's the same thing. So you need a whole lot of that and a whole lot of almonds. And well, I have a little secret ingredient. Of course, you know me. I'm going to have that little secret ingredient, because I like to make my marzipan the way that it was first made in Germany. Lübeck, or Lübecker, in Germany, was where we stayed when I was 6 years old. We lived there for a year, and boy, oh boy, did they have marzipan. They had a huge marzipan pig in the butcher shop, and he used to slice it on the meat slicer. It was that big. He used to slice it. People would go in for a slice or two slices of marzipan, and he would slice it, and I would press my nose up against the window and look at this marzipan pig. And sometimes I'd be in the shop while people were getting their slice of marzipan. And of course, we never had any. My mother would never think to get us marzipan, but so it was a long time before, when I sort of more grown up, when I tasted my first marzipan. But that marzipan pig sticks in my mind even today. I was 6 years old, pressing my nose up against the window to see that huge marzipan pig in the window, and then watching as the butcher slice it on his meat slicer. Oh, so good. So if you want my recipe for marzipan, and I use my marzipan. I know a lot of people like fondant, and they use fondant to cover their cakes and what have you, but I actually use marzipan because I prefer it, and it's a sort of delicious nutty flavour to it. And this year, horror of horrors, let me tell you, I did not make my Christmas cake because all of my ingredients were in the freezer, and my lovely friend Mary Lou emptied my freezer because of the storm, and everything was destroyed and everything went in the way of the trash, and that was the end of that. So Reese and I are going to make my very, very famous, well, it's famous between us, very famous, delicious, moist chocolate cake. It's really mocha. It's chocolate with a little coffee in it, and so delicious, and Reese loves it. It's his favourite. But we're going to decorate it just the same as we would decorate a Christmas cake. And we should be doing that on video around Christmas time, just before Christmas. We should be doing that so you can see what we can do to make a Christmas cake, a chocolate cake, turn into a Christmas cake. Yes, we will. Anyway, carry on, Chris.
This is from Trudy. Trudy says, "Hi, my name is Trudy. I'm new here. My question
Oh, hi.
today is how things will go for my son who has been working hard but feeling stuck in some areas of his life. Thank you."
Well, Trudy, I'm really glad that you're here, but I have to tell you, this show is only an hour long, and we get so many questions and so many people writing in, so we don't really have time. If I could say to you, okay, if I were, let's say, wanting to appease you, wanting to please you, I could say to you, oh, your son is going to be fine. He's going to have a bit of a struggle from time to time, but in the end, he's going to be fine. But it wouldn't actually be true, because I would just be pleasing you and appeasing you. That doesn't mean to say it's not true. It's just I'm not that person who glibly tells people something just to make them feel better. However, I am, even as I'm saying this to you, I'm looking to Grey Eagle, and he does have his hand on my shoulder. So I do know that I can give you somewhat of a message, real this time. um, and so, uh, so apparently, I'm told that your son, how can I put this to you, is he's seems to be overly conscientious. I'm asking, is there such a thing as being overly conscientious? But he seemed, when he gets his teeth into a thing, he wants to do it, and he wants to do it right. And sometimes he makes it more difficult for himself than it needs to be. But being the same kind of person myself, and being somewhat of a perfectionist myself, I can understand why people are like that. I just feel that I know you must worry about him. Obviously, here's the question: you are worrying about him. Um, I really feel that and this is coming from Greg, not from me now, this is real stuff. I do feel that he will struggle, much because of his own wanting to get it not just right, but getting it perfect. And I can value that, although I can see also that sometimes if you're not careful, you're never going to be satisfied with your work. And sometimes you have to learn to say, okay, I've done the best I can do, and I can't do any more than that. So I feel that in some ways he sort of makes it harder for himself, but I do think in the long run it really will pay off for him. I do think he'll have some struggles, but I do think in the long run he'll come out the other side. And well, it depends. I could say to you now, and he will be successful, but it depends. Everybody has their own idea of what is success. But I do feel that he will be pleased with the results eventually. All right. And for all of you who are new, or this is your first or only second time or something, if you want the newsletter, I've written a great newsletter, I think, actually. It's really Chris. Chris does 90% of the work, and then she says to me, "You need a letter. We need a letter from you. The newsletter. You need to put your thing in." So I have to do my bit, but she does all of the rest of it and tells us what we can expect for the next month and so on. But if you haven't got a newsletter, please go to my website. It's very simple and easy. Rosemary, Rosemary, for those of you who don't know, at rosemaryaltea.com and or at Rose whatever it is. No, it isn't. Sorry. My website is Rosemary Altea. There you go. rosemaryaltea.com. And if you go there, you'll see there is a little subscribe button. You don't have to pay anything for it. I promise you we will not inundate you with emails. You're not going to get an email from me every day. You've got too much of everything else to be doing. So if you want to subscribe, you will once a month get our newsletter, which people tell me they love it, and I love it, and I love writing to you all, and so I like to think that this month's newsletter talks about November and the joys of November, and also the joys to come for Christmas. So if you want the newsletter, click the button, subscribe, 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 and you'll get it. I don't. Is it too late to subscribe to get December's newsletter, Chris? Will they only get January's now? Is it too late or not?
Well, the next one to come out is January, but if they really want it, just email the office and I can send them a separate copy.
So there you are, email. And you can have two choices for email. Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. You can email me that. Please send me a newsletter. That's all you have to say. And we will do it. Or you can email Chris, Kris, Chris at rosemaryaltea.com. Or you have to say the same thing. Please send me the newsletter and we will send it to you. So there you have it. Okay, Chris, let's keep moving along, shall we?
Yes, so Andrew's asking, recently I have been waking up at times, for instance, at 3:33 a.m. and 3:23. Is it too much of a quantum leap to equate the time with angel numbers? 3:33 is, and he's quoting, you are completely surrounded, protected, loved, and guided by the benevolent ascended masters. 3:23 is, quote, ascended masters are with you to remove all blockages and challenges on your pathway so that you can live fearlessly. So Andrew's asking you to talk about angel numbers.
All right. Um, I'm not the expert you're looking for in that regard, Andrew. I believe um, that our angels do that job for us no matter what the time is. And it may well be that someone in the spirit world is tapping you on the shoulder to remind you, hey, your angels are there, and 3:33 might mean something to them. And so it might be that, pay attention. Remember that your angels are around you all the time. And, so maybe that's what's going on. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm not even an expert angel person, although I've spoken to many and seen even many more. And, I, years and years ago, before I'd seen an angel, people say to me, Rosemary, what do you think about angels? Because at one point, everybody was talking about angels, and there were so many books about angels, and people wanted their angels around them. And then people would come to me, of course, you know, I'm the guru. I talk to dead people, so shouldn't I know? And this is what they're thinking. Shouldn't I know these things? But I would say I've never seen an angel, and so I've never seen an angel. I've never spoken to an angel. I've never had any experience of an angel. So I can only tell you that if I ever do, I'll let you know. And then, and for those who've read my books, yes, you know that one amazing day in my office, a woman from America had called, and we'd done her consult, and she was crying and happy and all of that stuff, and she'd given me a list of questions, and the last question was, "Can you tell me who my angel is?" And I pretended, well, I've done that. We talked. I'd answered every other question, and then I said, "Okay, I think we're done. Is there anything else you'd like to ask me?" And she said, Rosemary, you didn't answer my angel question. And I began to say to her, look, I've never had the experience of angels, so I don't really can't speak to them. And then I saw this lovely lady standing in the middle of my study, and she smiled at me, and I thought she was perhaps another family member. She looked very ordinary to me, and I remember she said to me, "Hello," and smiling, beautiful smile. I said hello, and she told me that her name was Mary, and I said to my client on the phone, "Do I've got Mary here," and we'd already done all this other stuff. I'd spoken to her mother, her father. They'd given her amazing evidence that they were with her, and so on. So here we are at the very end of this consult. But as I'm watching Mary, she begins to slowly turn and turn in a sort of a very slow circle around the room. And of course, I'm talking to this lady on the phone, Mary, but I'm watching at the same time as Mary begins to turn. And to my absolute astonishment, of course, I want to say this is really true because if it were me, I would be doubting it. I would be doubting it. But to my astonishment, as she turned, I saw the wings on her back, and I'm thinking, no, 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 this can't. And I was disbelieving what was in front of my eyes, and then she turned back to me and she said to me, Rosemary, tell her I am her angel. And then she said something I've never forgotten. She said, and tell her, please, joy, oh greatest of joys, that she has finally asked for me. And I will always remember that. So, now I can speak. And since that time, I've seen angels in every shape and size. You wouldn't believe it. The angels that I've seen, well, of course you wouldn't, because if you don't see it yourself, it's hard to believe these things, right? And I'm such a skeptical person. But I do believe in the existence of angels. I'm not sure about the numbers thing. I want to say no because I've never experienced it, but that doesn't mean that I'm right to say no. So I don't know about the numbers thing, but why don't you take the sign anyway? Because I'm sure it's somebody in the spirit world nudging you awake at 3:33 just to remind you, angels abound everywhere, and yes, they do protect us. Chris, I, Chris, Chris, I can hear you in the other room, but I can't hear you on the thing. So, I mean, maybe it would be easier for you to just come in here and sit opposite me on the sofa. I don't know. Can you try that again? No, I can't hear you. Chris, I know you're talking because I can hear you, but I can't hear you on camera. If other people can hear you, if they could let us know that they can hear you, I'll just listen to what you're saying in the other room. So there's something going on with the sound that isn't quite right. So unfortunately, we are having a glitch. I don't know if it's from my end or if it's from Chris's end. I've no idea what's going on. Okay, and here she comes. All right. So
Maggie's saying, yes, she's having a second hip replacement.
oh, okay. Is that it?
It is.
Oh, now I can hear you. Yes. Okay. All right. I don't know what you're going to do about this glitch. Ooh, no, 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 Chris.
Dean is saying you have open windows. We had a -8-degree wind chill last night here in Wisconsin.
Dean, I know your family are all there with you, so I know there's no point in suggesting that you move to Florida. But, what can I tell you? We have our windows open, we have blue skies. I'm not sure what the temperature is. We've got fantastic breezes, and the breezes are blowing through the windows. It's really nice. And do we know what the temperature is? Chris?
73 degrees.
Oh, so that's, is it only 73? That's chilly. That's cold for us here. It's getting chilly. So it's 73 degrees here. Yes, we've got our windows open, the skies are blue, and it's glorious. It's really nice and warm. It's slightly on the cooler side for us, but I know Chris is thoroughly enjoying this weather. All right, keep going, Chris.
Iona is joining us here while she has COVID, and she's saying, please be careful, Rosemary. It's going around like hotcakes.
Oh, well, I've had COVID, and I had it right at the very beginning. And boy, oh boy, was I ill. I mean, I was laid up for at least 2 or 3 weeks. I was in bed, and nobody seemed to know what it was because, as I say, it was at the very beginning, and the doctors weren't really familiar with the fact. And I had, sort of, I was given an inhaler. I couldn't breathe properly. It felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest, and for several months after I had COVID, because I really did have a really serious bout of it, for several months afterwards, I could only sort of stay on my feet for 2 or 3 hours before, excuse me, before before I would have to sit down or rest, or even go and lie down and rest. So I feel I'm pretty immune to it, and I'm not too worried about it. But I do thank you for your concern. I hope you feel better, and I hope you get over this thing pretty quickly. So if you want healing, anyone out there, anyone listening to us, if you want healing, all you've got to do is ask us. I'm going to send you some healing today, Chris.
Linda Ann says,
Hold on. We've got that. Sorry, everybody, but it's just one of those things. For some reason or another, we're having internet problems today.
my husband is battling cancer, and I'm wondering if anyone in the spirit world is watching over him and me too. The people who are living don't really want to hear about it.
Well, who is this from, Chris?
This is Linda Ann.
Linda Ann. Okay. I know from my experience of people how people. It's almost as if it's a weird thing, but it's almost as if uh, people avoid you if you're sick, whether it's with cancer or whether it's with something else. There are people who it's almost as if they don't want to get too close to you because they maybe it's catching or something. But I think it's more than that. I think that people are afraid of their own vulnerability. I don't think it's that they don't care. I think that they are afraid because if they talk to someone or if they're around someone who is really sick, um, it reminds them of their own weaknesses. It reminds them that they're human. It reminds them of their own vulnerability. And that's sad, really, because at this time, you need all the help you can get and you need all the support that you can get. And it's such a shame that, that you're not getting that. But we're giving it to you. Absolutely. Um, if you can send us your husband's name or just write it in the chat room, or if you prefer to do it privately, just email his name. We're going to put him on the healing list. And I absolutely am certain sure that his family in the spirit world are with him. I'm told, Rachel tells me, they have their arms around him because I know how much you are both struggling. Sometimes when we're going through difficult times like this, we feel so isolated. We feel so unloved by so many. It's almost as if our friends and family disappear on us. As I've said, when we're dealing with illness like this, it reminds people of their own vulnerability, and they're too afraid to face it. Again, I don't think it's that they don't love you or care about you. might be that they love and care about themselves perhaps a little bit more, because they're obviously not looking at things from your point of view. They're looking at things from their own point of view, and people just sometimes don't. They just don't know what to say. Here's the truth for all of you out there who you've been that person who has avoided issues and problems. You don't have to say anything. All you have to do is go knock on the door or pick up the phone and say, I'm not good at this, but I just want you to know I'm thinking about you. Or I'm not very good at this, but I just, if you want some company, I'm happy to just sit with you. You don't have to do or say anything to be supportive of someone. All you have to do is turn up, show up, because God forbid it's you and all of your family and your friends disappear on you. We are sending your husband healing, my darling. We're going to be sending you healing too. And I can't stress enough, your loved ones in the spirit world are there, they are with you, and they are giving you their support without a doubt. Healing is on its way. Chris.
This is from Lorraine. Thinking positive in this Christmas season, will start decorating soon. Festive. My question is, does the spirit world have a very special celebration in heaven for Jesus, and what kind and what do they do?
Well, you know, okay. It's very much like this world of ours, isn't it? I mean, of course, uh, for me, uh, Jesus is my saviour. He is that one person that I've always, since I was a little girl, since I was 2.5 years old, he's always been that one person that I've looked towards and looked to. I know him. I got to know him over many, many years. Even when I was a kid, I would talk to him and I know he would listen to me. I just knew it. Nobody ever told me about it. Nobody, because my parents were certainly not religious. They were, they sent us to church because it was the way of my mother getting some peace and quiet and being able to watch the Sunday afternoon movie. So that's why we were sent off to Sunday school, not for any religious reasons. So I think that those who have Christian beliefs will celebrate just as people here will do the same thing. We always remember Christ on his birthday. Reese and I have a conversation about it. His mum and I, we join in with the conversation. We don't do too much. We just quietly, in our own way, celebrate and give thanks and do all that stuff. But there are people, believe it or not, I know it's hard for us as Christians to understand this, but believe it or not, there are people around the world who never heard of Christ. They don't know. Who is that person? They weren't brought up with Christ. They never know Christ. They know Muhammad, or they know Buddha, or they know whoever it is that they are have been brought up to believe in and to worship. There are many different religious beliefs. I hate the word religion because it's the most misused word I think in the dictionary, but because it means something different to everybody. But people in the spirit world celebrate in their own way. They celebrate with their families. They join with us, and if you read my newsletter, there's a little taste of what happened on Thanksgiving with a father who wanted to be still a part of his family's Thanksgiving, even though he passed into the spirit world a few months before. And he made it very, very plain to that entire family. Not only was he there, he really, he agreed with everybody when they said, "Oh gosh, what's going on with this gravy?" Everyone around the table said, "Oh, don't like the gravy." And he's saying to them later, "Oh gosh, don't like the gravy." And he made it very plain to them that he was there, that he heard the conversations, that he was a part of the issue. So people in the spirit world, they will celebrate with their families just as they did when they were here. And so I'm not sure that it's not just about Jesus. I'm a Christian, proud of it. There are lots of Christians who would absolutely want to burn me at the stake because They believe that you can't be a Christian and talk to dead people. I know that you can, and I do. So everybody has their own ideas about religion. So everybody's entitled to believe what they want. Everybody's entitled to celebrate in the way that they want, and I just think that our loved ones are celebrating with us, whatever we're doing, as long as we're happy and smiling, they're happy and smiling. They cry with us too in those times of sadness, and they. The good thing is, I don't think they condemn us. They don't really judge us, which is something that I like. So I have no idea if that answers your question, but there we go. Okay, keep going.
This is from Lisa.
Yeah,
I love your straightforward answers.
thank
I
you.
love your sense of humor. I love that I get this time most every Thursday. I have been making Christmas fudge in various flavors for my sisters and their families. I have a sister who makes cookies and one who makes cheese balls.
Oh,
My mom always made a Christmas seafood chowder. My sister does that now due to my mom's health. Since dad died in 2005, things have changed. Mom used to do everything. Now, us girls are in our mid 50s now, stepping up to the plate.
good. I like it.
What is terribly difficult, though, is getting our families all together for a day of family celebration. Even mom and her early dementia makes it difficult. We miss dad. It all changed when he left this earth. You certainly make understanding that life goes on easier.
And I'm absolutely sure that your dad is involved with every one of your lives and is sitting at the table with every one of you who's celebrating. I like the idea of the fudge. I'm not a big fudge fan. However, there is a certain little store. Oh no, not again. You can see me though, can't you? I know you can see me. So let's just click. My screen has gone blank. So let me just click that and let me click. Wait a minute, where are we? I can't see it from here. And there we are back again. Okay. So we're having internet issues. Uh, um, so there's a little store in Sarasota that actually sells the most amazing double, triple, or something for chocolate fudge. And I buy maybe a 2 ounce bar, which will last me for months. Keep it in the fridge. And every now and again, I'll get a sharp knife and I'll just cut a sliver off and eat it. I can't eat a lot of it; it's too sweet for me. Every now and again, and it lasts me for months. And sometimes I've had a piece for a year, and it still stays good. I know I'm a very weird person, but I love the double thick, heavy chocolate, dark chocolate fudge, and every time I go by this store, I might buy myself, an ounce or a couple of ounces of the stuff uh, because it's just too delicious to go past to walk past. So if you make anything like that, I'd love that recipe. Wouldn't that be good? Maybe I wouldn't like the recipe. Maybe I'd be eating it more often. I don't know. Maybe I'd just get fatter and fatter as the years went on, and then what would I do? Anyway, I like the idea of the cookies as well. If anybody's got a great chocolate chip recipe, oh my good, chocolate chip cookies. I've made dozens of them, and they've never been quite up to my standard. So if anybody out there has got one of those delicious recipes, it has to be, sort of the chocolate has to be slightly melted. The biscuit has to be nice and crumbly and crisp. Anybody got anything like that to share? Share it with me. Keep going, Chris. It's Christmas!
So this is from Barbara. Hi again. I'm a little confused about your comments regarding my mom. I do listen and I am sensitive because I get signs from my husband. So why am I not able to hear her? But I will follow your advice and try to meditate. Thank you and Great Eagle for your help.
Okay, darling. It's you, I'm sure you're doing everything right, but sometimes you're. I'm so, and I'm also so happy that you're able to connect with your husband in this way. But the relationship with your mother is different. There are different emotions at play, and sometimes we don't even realize that we sort of on some sort of subconscious level, we're sort of blocking ourselves. We're just blocking a little bit. Not that we intend to do it, as I've said, subconsciously. Um, Maybe it's that you want to so desperately that desperation gets in the way. Maybe it's that you're a little bit nervous about what she's going to say to you. Or maybe it's that you are really wanting to hear from her and you get overwhelmed, and so these little things, these little tiny bits of emotion that are going through you can act as little blocks, little blockages. But I'm sure if you pay attention, and I'm sure if you listen, if you do it with your husband, there's no reason why you can't do it with your mother. But just remember, they're different people. They have different kinds of energy. They connect in different ways. So, be prepared to listen a little harder, listen a little closer, and understand that again on a subconscious level, our mother's our mother, isn't she? We've got all sorts of emotions going on with our mothers, and but sometimes we're so desperate to want to hear from them that with that desperation, as I've said, puts up a little bit of a blockage. We don't even know that we're doing it, but that's how it works. Chris.
So this is from Lori. Lori's been sort of sitting in the background listening.
Okay.
I'm so fascinated and I love listening to you. The question is my mom with my brother on the other side?
Well, I'm glad that you've been listening. I'm glad that you're fascinated. And I was just about to say to you, I don't normally give messages, but here I am with Gravel's hand on my shoulder, so I know that this is important to you. It's so easy for me. I talked about earlier, I hate the glib answers because they're not always real. But as I'm listening to Gregor, I'm going to give you an answer that does sound glib, but again, he has his hand on my shoulder here, so I'm absolutely certain. When Gregor tells me something, I might not always understand it, and I might not always, I might, think, what does he mean by that? But I might not quite get what he's saying, but I never doubt him ever because he's so accurate and he's so right in everything that he says. And if my guide gives you a message, you can take it to the bank that it's real. So, with his hand on my shoulder, he's laughing at me now as I'm saying that to you. With his hand on my shoulder, I can absolutely tell you that yes, they are together. There's absolutely no doubt whatsoever. Um, This is interesting. They're not doing everything together. Your brother's apparently an independent person. He likes to make up his own mind about it. Oh, and stubborn. Uh, Now, is that your mother who's stubborn or your brother? I tend to think it might be your brother. But anyway, here I am thinking, yes, there's a little bit of stubbornness there. But so they're not doing everything together. They're not continually in each other's pockets, but very much together and are very much a part of each other's lives, continuing lives in the spirit world. So I hope that gives you some comfort. Chris.
So we're right at time, Rosemary. This will be the
Yeah,
last one.
yeah. I'm actually, I'm so sorry. I'm going to apologise. Not that I could do anything about it, but I do hate the idea of you sitting and listening to all this. You've got all this stuff going on in your ears, as do I. You've got to cut it out. And maybe you should switch off, Chris, or something. I don't know what to tell you to do. But I do thank you for joining us. I do thank you for putting up with us in this. It's been a little bit difficult, but still, it's December the 1st, everyone. The elf on the shelf visited my grandson. What is not to be happy about? Can you Tell me, what is not to be happy about? What is not to be joyful about when we see our children and our grandchildren so excited, so joyful for Christmas? My grandson, my daughter called me yesterday, whispering away to me. An hour after she put him to bed, he's still awake. He still won't go to sleep. An hour and a half later, he's still awake. He was so excited about Christmas. He was so excited that the beginning of Christmas starts with the elf visiting. Will he come this year or won't he? Who knows? And he did. How can you not be excited? How can you not be thrilled? And I know this, because I know from personal experience, the hurricane, the this, that, all the stuff going on, the worries and the financial worries and the, and all of the health issues that people are going through and all of that stuff. If we can at least once or twice in a day focus on what we can find in life to be joyful about, and there are so many, so many things to be joyful about. If we can just focus for a few minutes, once or twice, or even longer or more in a day, we can somehow find the strength and the joy to understand and to be reassured that whatever it is that's thrown our way, whatever it is that comes to us, no matter whatever comes to us, whatever is there for us, we can and we will overcome our trials and our tribulations, and we will smile. And I am determined that no matter how my back is, I laugh at myself anyway. When I get up from the sofa, I'll be hobbling around. I will look like a little old lady. Now, I say that to myself, oh gosh, I feel like a little old lady. Then I remind myself, oh, wait a minute, I am a little old lady. I'm at that stage. Not that old. Let's not, let's not go there. But even then, when you're sort of dealing with stuff, if you determine to have faith, not just to have faith, but to live your faith, and you have faith in your angels, and you have faith in God, and you determine to live that faith, then you cannot go a whole day without smiling. You cannot go a whole day without being joyful of the things that we can be thankful for. So I hope I'm inspiring you to do that, everybody. I really do. And thank you so much once again, my lovely groupies. I love my groupies. Once again, thank you for joining us today. I'd like to say thanks to Chris, of course, our fabulous facilitator, and I would, or what? Oh, sorry, I could see this hand waving across. I'm thinking, what? What did I miss? Yes, on Friday afternoon at, I think it's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 10 o'clock British time, just so you know, to give you an idea. We will be doing our healing hands around the world if you want to know more about healing. If you'd like healing, or if you just want to know more, if you are a healer yourself and you'd like to know a little bit more about it, we'll be here tomorrow afternoon, Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. to do some healing work. So please join me then. And Mark, if you're not feeling so great, you need to tune in because we shall send you some special healing. So thank you, everybody. Last but by no means least, I'd like to thank my spirit guide, Grable. Isn't he amazing? Isn't he wonderful? Am I joyful to have him? Of course I'm joyful. And it's Christmas coming. Of course I'm being absolutely, fabulously and wonderfully joyful. So much so that it's beginning to make me want to throw up. I'm being so joyful. Maybe am I getting to you all? Is it too much? Maybe it's a bit. No, of course it's not too much. So thank you for joining me, everybody. Please, please, please have a very blessed rest of the day. We should be back on Saturday morning. We'll be here tomorrow afternoon. We'll be back on Saturday morning for story time. And till in the meantime, please, everyone, have a very blessed rest of the day and have a very, very blessed weekend. Bye bye.